Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Um,
Hi.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this Pride panel on the music industry. So excited to be here. My name is Mitchell Kuga. I am a freelance journalist from Hawaii who currently lives in New York City, and I will be your moderator. Before we begin, why don't we start off with introductions? Shea, do you want to kick us off?
Yes, of course. I'm Shea Diamond. I'm a singer-songwriter, and I'm based here in Los Angeles.
Cristal, do you want to go next?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Cristal Ramirez. I'm in a band called The Aces, and I'm based in Los Angeles.
And DJ BMAJR.
Yes, DJ BMAJR here, originally from Detroit. I'm a DJ based in New York City, Brooklyn to be exact.
So I would love to start this conversation by grounding us in this current moment. We are living in what feels like a historical moment with regards to Black Lives Matter moment, the Black Trans Lives Matter movement, and the epidemic. And with that comes the responsibility as artists to not only speak up, but to act, to donate, to advocate. We've seen various examples of that. We've seen initiatives like the Blackout Tuesday initiative that started within the music industry and then kind of filtered outwards to varying success. I guess my question is, do you consider yourself an activist, and what role do you think you play as LGBTQ artists in this moment?
Yeah, I guess I can start. I think that this year specifically, and especially with the Black Lives Matter movement, has like really pushed me as a person to like realize just like where I can do better. And I don't know if I consider myself I would have called myself an activist, maybe outside of things for the LGBTQ community, because it's a community I'm a part of. But it's just made me realize like it's just been such a wake up call, I think, not just for me, but for a lot of people. And as much as I hate to admit that, I do think it's pushed me. It's like, okay, I can't just post about it. I can't just talk about it for a week. Like, as me and the girls in my band, it's been like, how can we truly help? How can we actually educate? How can we actually impact the people who follow us and love our music in a way that's going to propel like real action and change and these real conversations that have to be had. So that's been something that's like really on our minds and continuously taking that term activist and really incorporating it into our everyday lives. So, yeah.
I can go next. I don't know if I really consider myself an activist. I consider myself a living, breathing human being in this moment as a black male, a black gay male. And so I'm trying to figure out ways to actually use my voice, to use my platform where I can be the most conducive. That's an interesting question because I don't know if I consider myself an activist. I consider myself maybe an artivist. That I'm using my art to continue the discussion. Encourage people to get out there more. Yeah, I think yeah.
And I would kind of piggyback off that a little bit and call myself an artivist as well. I think it's kind of like performative to say, "Hey, I'm an activist," and but I believe that if it's true to tone, that you stand for something, whether you're fighting for your own rights or the rights of others. I believe that is something that we've been activated to do. We've been called upon to do. And so there are various ways that we use our activism in order to actually amplify the voices of the activists that are on the ground and actually doing the work. And so there was a point in time where I actually would, march, and sometimes I do occasionally march. But I feel like, in this time that it's more important for us to be able to amplify the voices of those who don't have that power behind them or that strength behind them to be able to call into action more people. So I believe that through our music and through the message of our music, we're able to really reach a broader audience and to connect everyone together.
Yeah, I also struggle with that casual adoption of the word because, as you said, it's like it is a full-time job that people really devote their entire lives to. And as much as I care about everything that's going on, it's like I can't claim to have devoted that much of my life to that. So let's go back to sort of when you first started your careers in music. I think a lot of LGBTQ artists have to negotiate just how LGBTQ they're going to be. And that's especially true when you're working within a corporate structure, a major label structure. So was there ever a point in your journey as an artist when you considered either staying in the closet or playing down your queerness to be more palatable?
Actually, I'll start. So before I started DJing, I was a scientist for a environmental consulting firm. And I did that for maybe 8 years. And I was in these boardrooms with these big time lawyers, and I never felt really comfortable. So I would always have to downplay, my sexuality. I would have to really address myself before I go in these, have a conversation with myself. How was I going to present myself in these meetings, during these depositions and stuff like that? So I would have to downplay my sexuality. I honestly don't even think I even brought it up, or hopefully I didn't bring it up during these like meetings and stuff like that. But when I more transitioned in the last 3 years into a full-time artist, I feel like I still had to sometimes not downplay my sexuality, but I never felt like I can be 100% honest with my sexuality, if that makes sense. And certain things, I will always in the back of my head think like, oh, what is this executive going to think, that I'm like a gay black male? I will always kind of like not intentionally downplay my sexuality, but I think subconsciously, like constantly thinking about sexuality in the first thing that I would go in these like meetings and these like conversations that I would have, and even the DJ set. I would be sometimes conscious on the music I play, and it's actually interesting because I never intentionally thought that I would be doing this, but subconsciously in the back of my head, I would always be like, oh, I have to like keep it like keep it for everyone and stuff like that.
Totally.
I mean, myself,
yeah, I think. Sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, go ahead. You started.
Are you sure? I was just gonna say, I think that's like, I feel like that's a really shared experience for me. It was like very much the same way, and I think there was like a lot of factors, because I'm also in a band of other people that, at the time, one of them is not queer. She's married to a man, and then the other was not out at that point. So me and my sister, who are in the band, were out, but it was like, okay, but how do we reflect on the whole band? It became like this responsibility to not override their identities in a way, or like, I think in the music industry, it's really tough as well, because you get this, well, you don't want to niche yourself. You want to be commercial to everybody. And that's so sad that like, that's the way queerness has been obviously, put in this like weird box of like, you're only gay people or queer people are going to like you, which is like, first of all, incredible. But second of all, like just so silly that would be a negative, that like, you know what I'm saying? So it's been really interesting for me to like, it's been a huge part of my identity and my career so far of like trying to downplay my queerness, but getting to a point ultimately where I've realized it's like, you know, that is such a beautiful part of who our band is and who we are. And actually, the more we lean into our identity, I feel like the more we really speak to our audience and to the people that are listening to us. So it's been this like really amazing discovery to see that as we've like, you know, been more and more public. But definitely was a thing that was constantly on my mind. Definitely was a thing that was like, oh, we want to be more commercial. We want to, you know, and something that we have like struggled with, but now have, I feel like, come to a way better place with, for sure.
Well, me, yeah, it's been quite the opposite. I feel like that my music kind of took a back seat to my gender expression and gender identity, and for good reason, unapologetically, as a Black trans woman, you know, kind of navigating in like this misogynistic world that is transphobic, that is like all these different layers. And on top of that, we have this like, she's a Black trans woman, you know, and so what that looks like in music and how necessary it is for me to exist, you know, for our youth, because we didn't have that representation when I was younger. So I think about like, how can I let other youths who have that dream that I had once upon a time, to let them know that their dream is actually obtainable. And so I had to be unapologetic and had to relay a message of power, of just my existence being radical, and being just a riot in itself, you know. And so I believe that it was so important to come into these spaces that again, at the meetings, like you said, that were very transphobic, and, you know, they kind of couldn't really focus on the music. They could only focus on my representation. And of course, you know, everyone seeks to kind of limit your audience to that particular base. And so I've kind of found with kind of serving this this equality based music that everyone can identify with, because we all, at the end of the day, we want to be loved, we want to be accepted, and that's, you know, that's not a given, you know. And so what does it look like from a person who is telling a story from an underdog type of a scenario? And so so for me, I just unapologetically knew that I had to say, hey, Black, trans, and proud.
That's amazing.
And successful.
One note on,
you know.
there you go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I really respect you so much for that, because it for me, I remember, you know, like Tegan and Sarah for me changed my whole life. So to be able to see people that like you just see yourself in, who, you know, are the first to really stand up and own their identity, it's just life changing, you know, for a lot of people, and for musicians as well. Like, I feel like that's such like a brave, amazing thing to do. So thank you so much for doing that.
But again, I feel like we have to, because we're doing it now so that they won't have to. It's like we have to wear this gigantic label on our head, like, hey, you know, I'm here. And, you know, but as time progresses and they see, okay, this is possible. You know, there is a possibility of a gay man or gay woman or trans woman being the number one person on Billboard, and or being the song that you hear in your favorite movies or TV shows. That it is quite possible. And then, you know, of course, you know, you can slide into stealth, you know, and say, hey, you know, I'm just a musician. But right now, we're just not there yet.
Right.
Absolutely. It's so interesting, Shea. What I think what you're saying is like, you know, along with the LGBTQ acceptance in the music industry, also comes the flip side of that as well, which is the, you know, tokenization oftentimes that you can feel as an artist as well.
Definitely.
So we are still, for the most part, under quarantine, and it's been, really fun watching musicians and nightlife as an industry pivot towards, various virtual platforms. And you have all been great examples of that. DJ BMAJR, you had your club major on Instagram. Shea, you recently performed at Billboard's Virtual Pride Summit and have also been interviewing LGBTQ musicians for Billboard's Pridecast.
Yes.
And Cristal, your band went on a digital wellness tour on Instagram and even shot a homemade music video. There's obviously a ton of downsides to this moment as artists and musicians who survive in the gig economy, live performances, all those things. But I guess on the flip side of that, I'm wondering, like, is there anything about this moment that you're finding either like musically or spiritually inspiring, or, just in regards to like pausing and sort of reflecting?
It's something that's been like spiritually rewarding. Is just like how we've connected never before. And okay, it says call interrupted. Okay,
Yeah,
okay. To make sure we were still here. Yeah, so there has been this connection, like spiritually, with musicians that I don't think, if it hadn't been for the pandemic, that a lot of us would connect in the way that we connect, and that we would be able to stretch, our imaginations to be able to be creative in a way that is so necessary to this time. And but when it comes to financially sustaining in the industry, without our tours, it's just like, it's kind of harder to pay the bills. And so while, the world is saying, hey, stay at home, don't work, and my landlord is saying, hey, you're late for rent, pay up, and I I just didn't understand the correlation between that. Like, there was no give and take to that. And so while we as artists or activists or artivists, tend to lend our art to our communities in order to for the betterment and to really address what's happening right now and to heal, like music does. I find that a lot of people reaching out are like, hey, we have micro budgets, we can give you $100 or $200, and I'm like, okay, $100 or $200, I have a whole band that I have to pay, and there's no way possible I can like stack up these $100 and $200 to pay my rent and still be the type of businesswoman that believes in paying the people around me. And so that in itself was very difficult, and I had to come to a space to where I had to just like be a little bit more direct. Like, there are things that I can do for my community in this time, and there are things that financially it's just not responsible to do. And in order to keep the music going, to keep the art going, so we're thinking about how to keep the organizations going, so we're lending our talents, but how do we keep the music going? And if music suffer, then I believe that essentially we all suffer, because we all depend so much on so many different elements of music, whether it's our dance song, whether it's our exercise song, whether it's our, kind of get busy, type of song, our love and romance song, So there are so many different elements, and if music suffers, I believe we all suffer. And during this time, I believe that music is so essential to our conversations that we're having, to the movements, to every single movement, from Black Lives Matter to Trans Lives Matter. They connect with our music in some type of way. So just being able to find spaces and find collaborations of other artists who are trying to fund, the art, like of course Bob the Drag Queen and Peppermint. They're doing the first Black queer town hall, and so what was kind of so different about this event is they were vested in making sure that the artists were, fairly compensated. And so you really don't hear that language. You hear, okay, what can you do for us for free? We understand this is what you do for a living. That you don't have like a McDonald's or a Burger King job on the side, or you're not doing anything else, but this is how you're living is off of your art. And I think some people are starting to understand that. And I think that the message really needs to be delivered to the people who still don't get it yet, that we need to fund art.
Yeah. I was having this conversation yesterday, actually. I feel like this whole pandemic is a blessing and a curse. It was a blessing because it taught me really that I'm resilient. I can pivot, I can adjust. I'm flexible. I never thought I was flexible with my art. But, it's also a curse because nobody expected this to happen. I mean, I'm pretty sure we all had stuff lined up for this year. Essentially wiped out overnight. Literally overnight.
It was wiped out overnight.
Yeah, literally, I feel like March 13th was the last DJ set. I'm like, we'll be fine.
Yeah.
2 weeks. No.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's I think this time has really taught me just how important DJs are to the community, and even what DJ D Nice did on his platform. Just how music can bring everybody together. Music is healing, especially during these times that we have during this climate. Music is really the common bond that we all as people that can relate to. And I think it's fortunate that now we're recognizing just the power music has in healing a community, because before the pandemic I feel like we really took music and the music community for granted. And essentially it's going to be another concert, it's going to be another DJ set, blah blah blah, artists every day. But I feel like now we just realize just how important music is to a person, just for that mental health. And that's one thing I really focused during this time was how can I use my talent and my voice to really help somebody. I don't care if I just get one listener. If that person is making it through based on what I put out in the atmosphere, then that really, I know I did my job. So that's why I think this pandemic is a blessing and a curse, because before that, I really think people took our jobs for granted. And now everyone see just how important we are to the community. We are to healing. We are to mental health. So yeah. Just trying to adjust.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything you guys have said. I think, we all thought 2020 was our year. It was just
know, right?
Year. We were all 2020, I'm getting everything in line. Yeah, but in a lot of ways, I don't think it was the year anyone anticipated or expected, of course, and it's been a really, really tough one for sure for a lot of us. I think for me, this whole pandemic is kind of just reset why I love music so much. Exactly like you guys are saying. I think in the music industry, it's super, super easy to get caught up in, I need more streams. I need more money. I could be bigger. I could be better. How come I'm not getting that spot? How come in your head, you have those conversations. And for me, I've just started to connect to, oh my gosh, I've accomplished so much. I should be so proud of where I am, where I've come from. I should be so proud of that and not take that for granted. I should also, I've just reconnected to the idea that as musicians and artists, we are like you guys said, healers and comforters. And that actually fully rejuvenates me more than I realized. I think, I've realized I need the people who love my music just as much as they might need me. And that's fully, it's just this big reminder of how fortunate I am to be in the position I'm in, even though, not everything is as perfect as it is. But, life is just so short. things change in the blink of an eye. You have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow. So you just have to like enjoy what's going on and enjoy every moment. And as cliche as that sounds, I feel like this year for me has just been like a regrounding and a reassessment of what's truly important in my life and what really matters and why I do music, why I'm an artist, why I chose to do it. And that came from such an organic, beautiful place from the time I was just a little girl. You know, I just naturally did it. I love to do it. I chose to do it. I paid to do it, you know, and now it's like the roles have obviously reversed and it's become my career. But I think for me, that's just been the most beautiful reminder. And out of like all of the ashes, that's been the thing I've tried to every day wake up and remember, even when it feels like I'm, you know, doing another Zoom call, doing another live stream from home without the crowd, and just appreciating and looking forward to a time when I can, you know, get on stage again and connect with people again, and like definitely not going to take that for granted ever again, you know.
Cristal, you mentioned the reset on a personal level, but a lot of people have also spoken about a reset button being pressed on industries at large, across the board. And I mean, she was speaking to like, you know, the underfunding of queer artists, especially queer artists of color. Do you have any hopes that the music industry or nightlife will emerge out of this moment in a new and hopefully better place? And what would that look like?
I do feel like we're going to bounce back, you know, bigger and better than ever. At least I'm hopeful. I believe that while so much is happening in the world, we have everyone's attention. It's just like, you know, this is our only way to communicate right now. Whereas, you know, we all were so busy going to our prospective jobs and prospective performances, and you know, going to the studio and all these things, and getting our glam done, and all these old fab things that we've grown accustomed to. So now it's just like, okay, now you're beating your own mug. Now, you know, of course, your performances are virtual and you have to depend on the internet. And, you know, the internet tends to lag a little bit because so many people are using it. But like I said, you know, with Black Lives Matter and everything else going on, and Trans Lives Matter, I believe now we finally have people's attention. Now it's about what we say. And now it really matters, the content that we deliver. So, you know, I believe everything at this point should be very intentional. I know a lot of people say, hey, you guys, it's not really organic to monopolize off what's happening now. So I realize a lot of artists don't really want to speak about the things that are happening now. And I feel like that's a problem. I feel that, you know, we as artists, we have to, and especially LGBTQ plus, we have to make a statement, and it's our mission statement to say what our time was. Like, you know, what our existence was, because looking 10 years from now, no one would ever know that we suffered in our art, that we were discriminated based upon our gender, sexual orientation, or gender expression. And so unless we put that in our music and kind of like have this call to action type of music, then we're just as bad as any other song that a cisgendered community has put out that has been only one-sided and not telling the whole story. So like representation in movie matters, representation in music matters, and so I would like to see more. So it's my goal to call for more attention to the trans artists that don't have as much visibility as I have. And when I think about that, I think about, you know, like how we celebrate so many things, but we forget, like, the main underdogs that have been out there and pouring their sweat and tears into this industry and has never got the time of day or our recognition. I think about actresses like Alexandra Gray, who was on like one of my favorite shows of all time, which was like Empire. It was all music all the time and drama. It was like our life, like written, in script. So I think about her being on Empire and the impact of that and how our community went completely silent about it. And just listening to her talk about, her journey and, on the show. And also just about how, again, performative, people's activism has been. Because, Hollywood is Hollywood. And I like to say Hollywood is going to take care of Hollywood. Hollywood is this big old show. So basically, when there's a Black Lives movement, we're like, hey, Black Lives Matter. And, as soon as someone says, oh, that's a little bit problematic, we tend to pull back. And so I believe that we need to start standing in that and not have this performative activism and really start putting direction and highlighting and amplifying the voices of those who never get a chance to be heard. And so in our music, we should do that as well, like in our playlists. When we should have our playlist being representative of queer art, outside of those popular ones that we're used to. So I believe, like in music and movies, there is like this great need for the great white hope. And so we always look for it in every single thing. And so it has been very overt, and we just never really fully address it. And so, but when there is that splash of color, like one or two, we realize there's a need for like one or two just to be able to say we're not racist, just to be able to say we're not transphobic. But if we really weren't transphobic and we really weren't racist, then it would be more, inclusive,
Yeah, it's actually interesting during this time. I feel like it's a great. I feel like I've become and holding myself more accountable on what I say, because before this everything, the pandemic, and before everything started happening, well, we started paying attention to it. It's been happening. I feel like I didn't hold myself accountable. I didn't hold myself accountable with the art I was putting out there. I didn't hold myself accountable with what I was saying, to the community. And I feel like this time I've really, it's power behind words, it's power behind art, it's power behind what we put out there as a community. And I'm just grateful during this time that we're being seen, we're being heard. And I just love that, everybody's using their platform to whatever views you have. Everybody finally has a voice, and everybody's listening to that voice.
Mm-hmm.
Because before, I felt like I wasn't really heard in a sense by the majority. And I feel like now I definitely am. Now my voice matters. Now, what I say actually hold weight in the community, hold weight in the world. And I feel like this time has really taught me that, I'm a Black male in this society and I matter. I'm saying I'm here. I'm living. I'm thriving. And I also think it's important for, like you said, Shea, for the community who doesn't have the most visibility, that we are uplifting those voices as well. We're using our platform for good. And it's really just made me think of like ways that I'm actually using my platform. Like, is it benefiting the community? What can I do today? Every day I wake up, what can I do today to benefit this community that we're living in during this time that we're living in? And yeah. Sometimes you gotta say yeah.
Cristal, did you want to add anything?
No.
Yeah, I mean, I think they covered it.
Yeah.
I'm sure we have a lot of. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're back. I'm sure we have a lot of younger LGBTQ viewers, and I'm wondering if you have any advice for queer musicians who are trying to come up in this industry. Any advice or resources that you could offer from your own journeys?
Mine is to actually have a positive outlook. I realize we get so exhausted so fast because we all work so hard at this, and we all give it, our best. And so the thing is like we're the ones that you see, but the ones who do the same thing are unseen. And so I would tell them not to give up, because like no one got there overnight unless they were like Lizzo, you know. No, but seriously, no one got there overnight. It was hard work. It was a whole lot of no's. It was a whole lot rejection. It was a whole lot of putting your heels into, your dress shoes into a big bag, and putting on your sneakers, and kind of running to the performance. It was a whole lot of catching the bus before you got a car service. It was a whole lot of riding economy before you can earn your way to first class. And so never give up. Always stay hopeful, stay positive, because at the end of the day, people want to work with someone who is positive. And so if they see your struggle and see what you go through, like in my particular story, people can really connect more with my incarceration. I was incarcerated for 10 years in a male's institution. And so they think about me, and they think about what I would, how my presentation would be, that I would be this bitter, angry artist that's always biting people's head off, instead of this artist that we're calling people in instead of out. So be that person that people want to work with. Come to work, with a positive attitude. Come prepared, knowing and having confidence, because usually in this artistry we don't have the confidence until later on, until all those no's, until all those running sprint to your performance in your tennis shoes, and then put into you don't have the experience. And so sometimes you have to learn in life that there's a reason for every single season. So while in the summertime it may not be your season to blow up and to pop and to be this superstar, but in the wintertime, it may be your season. So be prepared for your season. And so it's about having a story to tell. So you have to have those little ups and downs to be able to have that pain in your voice. You have to have those breakups. And so I would tell them to live life. Don't stop living life. Experience things. Be an adventurer. Be that type of person who still wants to not only excite their crowd, but excite themselves. Don't get bored with yourself. Don't fall into a spiral of depression, because all too often we hear these no's, and we see other success stories, and like you said, why not me? Why isn't this me on this journey? And so I think the more you focus upon your own life goals instead of the successes of everyone else's story, then you'll be true to your own story and be able to tell your story with authenticity in a way no one else has been able to do. Because we all kind of tell this story about competing. Oh, my hair look better than yours. I'ma steal your man. I'ma steal your man. And so but there isn't this type of thing to where we're telling this story like, hey, boo, you can do it too. I did it. You can do it too. And so it takes that experience to know how to be an artist, to know how to be an influencer, to know how to sell your brand, how to market your brand, how to be palatable to the masses in a way that it doesn't prevent other artists from working, but it also amplifies the voices of those artists who are unseen.
Yeah.
Really?
Ooh, yeah. Yes. one thing I would say, just during the time I had is to be humble. I would, that's one thing. Because as we know, overnight everything can change. So be grateful.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Just be grateful for whatever opportunity you get. Always treat it like your last, because you never know, it may be your last. And yeah, just be humble. Speak with everybody with kindness. People are dying so quickly in the world now. You never know. If you get the opportunity to tell somebody that yes, you're loved, yes, you're appreciative, yes, you're appreciated. Yeah, just be a humble human being. We get so caught up. Like you said, we get so caught up in this thing like, yeah, I'm looking this, I'm looking that, I'm untouchable. But then, no, it can all change overnight. So just be humble, be grateful for what you do have, and just know that, tomorrow is a new day. If you mess up today, tomorrow is a new day. Yeah, just treat every day like it's your last. Because these times we're living in, it may be someone's last. So, yeah, just be humble, be grateful. Yes.
Okay.
I always say that we're only as good as the last thing we did.
Yes.
So no one remembers like what you did 2 years ago. Right. They can only say, you told them about, oh my God, I was nominated for a Grammy 2 years ago, and they're like, okay. What are you doing now? Right. They kind of slide that in, and so it's so super important, like you said, to treat everybody right, because the person that you spit on might be the one that you may be shining their shoes tomorrow. So be careful what you do when you rise up, because because the bigger your head gets, honey, the harder it's going to be falling down. So, you're going to have to reach those same people coming on down. So just make sure you treat everybody right. It's not about how many followers a person got. You know what I mean? Still give them the same attention that you would give somebody who has 1 million followers. Treat them the same as a person who has like 112. And, because again, no one knew how great you were. You've always known how great you were, but it took other people a minute to figure out how great you were. And so, and the same goes for other people. So just because a person has like 200 followers, we kind of sleep on them a bit, but we don't know how great they are, how great their talent is, and how it could supersede your own.
Right. Yeah, and it's, one thing I always tell myself, whatever job I go into, speak to everybody in the room. I don't care what anybody is doing. Speak to literally everybody in the room, because you never know who is doing what in the room. You may think somebody's doing something, but they could be doing the opposite. So I make sure, shake everybody's hand, say hello to everybody, treat everyone with kindness, because you just never know. And it's funny because you see a lot, like you say, people get so caught up with the followers and the job titles and everything, but that, at the end of the day, that does not matter. Nothing matters. At the end of the day, followers do not matter. And because we all buy followers. People have 20,000 followers. Engagement is 2 likes. So you know what I'm saying. So just treat everybody with respect. I just try to tell myself to make sure I have a conversation with everybody that's in the room. I don't care what you're doing. I'm saying hello. How was your day? Are you well? Yes. Okay. Let's keep it going.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. I think for me, what's been really important in kind of building my band and my career and throughout my life has just been to remember that, like, you just do what you can with what you have. I think that that's really important to remember. I think a lot of people get caught up on, I don't have the right equipment, and I don't, this isn't perfect, and this isn't exactly how I wanted it to, and it's okay, but it didn't turn out exactly like I wanted it to, and so I'm not going to put it out. It didn't work out. And I feel like that's what stunts so much growth as an artist, because exactly to Shea's point, no one cares what you did 2 years ago. So put it out, have fun with it. No one's gonna look back on 5 years ago, whatever, when you were a kid, and judge you for your whole career. These are all stepping stones and pieces of the puzzle, and if you don't lay one puzzle piece down, you don't get to the next, and I can look back and look at the music I was putting out 5 years ago, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I was such a kid. And I know I'm going to look back in 5 years from now and go, oh my gosh, I was such a kid, so as soon as you can get comfortable with the idea that nothing will ever be perfect, nothing will ever be exactly what you thought it was going to be, and you give yourself room for that imperfection, I think is when you start really conquering what it is to turn your art into your career. And so that's been really key for me. And that's something I always tell people is do what you can do with what you have and know that it will grow as long as you're doing what you can. And it's this ripple effect, right? Because you start to win over your 10 friends, and then those 10 friends become, 20 to 30 people in your hometown. And then you get 100 people in your hometown. And then you go statewide, nationwide, global. That's it's this big, long ripple that starts. But if you don't start in the coffee shop with your two best friends who are hyping you up, then you can't get to that global point. So just have fun with it and don't take it so personal, as hard as that is with your art, because it is so personal. Realize that you will make so much art in your life, that you're this rounded, beautiful human being with so much to share. This one EP or this one album or whatever it is just a little piece of the puzzle. And so to obviously pour your heart into it, but realize you're going to make so many things in this life if you continuously, work at your craft. So
yeah. And surround yourself with people that nurture you. It's so important as an artist. You spoke about friends, and collectively your family, the people that are around you who have the most impact on your life. Make sure they are people who are supportive of your art, or it'll be to your own detriment. Normally, we surround ourselves with friends that, cause as being a 42-year-old Black trans woman in the music industry.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You can only imagine, just and being formerly incarcerated for 10 years, you can imagine that people said, okay, girl, you can give it up. Girl, it's over. This is a young person's industry. Girl, you already know, honey, that you're too dark, you're too fat, and all these things. And these are from your friends. Right. So only imagine what your enemies are out there saying. So it's just if you have the wrong people around you, then your art is going to suffer. So you need people around that are going to show up. The reason why, for me as an artist, I chose to remain single is because there was this time to where I was in this relationship that wasn't nurturing me completely. Of course, they can handle the things in the bedroom. Of course, they can handle a bill or two, not three, but a bill or two. They may be able to pay your nails, but not your hair. May be able to buy a bed, but honey, not to pay the whole rent. And so just realizing that I needed someone who was just as confident and just as brave as I was to put myself out there in this industry. I needed that backup. I needed someone who believed in me just as much as I believed in me to be around me. So I needed someone that could nurture this plant instead of the weeds that tend to grow around us. And so we are so accustomed to allowing these weeds to grow around us that we're never plucking them out and obtaining our full growth. And so sometimes you have to really observe the people that are around you, what they're saying, how they're doing. And so if these people aren't able to show up to your shows, honey, they're no good for you. If they're not able to buy your $1.99 single, then they're not worth your time. They're not worth any of it. And they're telling you, hey, oh girl, you got 1 million people in the world, girl. You ain't the only one with a dream, girl. It's so unlikely. You might as well stop that, honey. They hiring at my job. Just because you gave up on your dream doesn't mean that I'm going to give up on mine. So you need people who believe in you just as much as you believe in you.
cut that
Thank you,
jealousy
Shea.
out real quick.
Period.
So unfortunately, we are out of time. That was like a perfect way to end. Before we go though, what are some of your Pride plans this year? How are you celebrating? Really quickly.
Me Pride, everything is virtual, so I'm on everybody's Pride performance list. So you just look it up. I'm probably somewhere in the middle of it. So that's my Pride.
Yeah, for me, my Pride this year is just living, being healthy. I'll be DJing a couple things, but really just enjoying the moment, enjoying this time that I have to really think, enjoy life. Pride is 365, so yeah, treating it like any other day, to be honest.
Yeah, I think same. Just trying to like celebrate on the phone with my queer friends and maybe get a blow up pool and make a tequila drink. I don't know. We'll see.
Yes.
A kiddie pool.
Okay,
we'll figure it out.
I'm coming over. I'm coming over.
I know.
I'm coming over too.
Come on over.
I don't want to do it.
Social distance with those tequila.
All right. Thank you so much for taking the time. This was so lovely speaking to all of you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Happy Pride.